Well, let's get the ball rolling by answering last week's trivia question with Brian Mofokeng. The question that we asked you last week is one of the venues for the CAF Women's Champions League is a stadium in Côte d'Ivoire called Stade Laurent Gbagbo. The question is, who is the man Laurent Gbagbo? Interesting question. Interesting question.
We have to throw a bit of a twist this time around.
It is, but like, I don't know, but I don't think the people of this generation would know who he is.
Yeah, true. They wouldn't. By the way, somebody that's one of our fans, a big fan.
Yeah.
I met him over one of the matches over the past weekend, and he said, you know what? Please do give Itu Banda my greetings.
Oh, really?
I love the show.
I love it. I love it. And that's exactly what we love, right? We want to rope you in. So let's get you out the misery. What is the answer? Who is Laurent Gbagbo?
In 1968 and 1970, he managed to score a total of 14 goals in two different AFCON tournaments, including scoring 5 in one of the matches.
Crazy.
In the tournament played in Ethiopia. He was a top scorer for the tournament with 14 goals before Samuel Eto'o arrived and eventually eclipsed that particular record by scoring 18 goals in total. So he was the man that was the top scorer of the AFCON over the time. He was one of the top players for Ivory Coast way back in the days, a legend of note in Ivorian football, and that's a reason why we're talking about him today. So if you know that, well done.
Well, if you don't know now, you know. We don't call Brian Mofokeng a walking encyclopedia for anything. It's because he'll give you the dates, he'll give you the situation, and he will paint the entire picture for you. That's the answer to last week's trivia question. Make sure that you hop onto the fun this week. We have another question lined up for you. Fairly simple, actually. We're asking you about the CASAFA Women's Championship. 2023 marks the 11th edition of this competition. South Africa has won it a record of 7 times. The question is, which countries have won it the 4 other times? Make sure that you name the countries and you name the years as to which country won it when. Correct?
Yeah. If you listen to the show today, you'll actually realize we'll give you 2 of those. We'll definitely confirm 2 of those later on in the show.
Yeah.
You need to go and look for whether those 2 had won it twice each or not. That's what you need to look for.
Well, that is the trivia question for this week. But as promised, we said we're going to be talking about the infamous, the illustrious competition that is new to African football called the African Football League. Hands up in the air since 2019. And finally, can you believe Patrice Motsepe, another tick to the box, right? Something he said he was going to do, officially happening. The African Football League is here. But what I want to know from you is when it was introduced to the masses, it was known as the African Super Cup. And this was back in the year 2019. It was merely just an idea. Tell me the difference between what was the idea and what finally is executed.
If you remember, there was also a similar competition to be launched in European countries as well. But then FIFA teamed up with CAF and said, we want to make this a reality. Let's look at the teams that are playing in your competition. There's the prize money that's going to be there. We're talking about 11.5 million at that stage. It's going to be the big prize money is going to go there.
That was a lot of money. It kind of like didn't seem realistic.
So everybody started talking about it, saying, this is what is coming up. What can we do? Is this going to be able to happen? So fast forward, issues around sponsorship, issues around them spreading themselves too much, and too thin, not having enough to be able to do certain things. Hence, they decided to say, let's move from initial competition you wanted, from 24 to 8, as a trial run, more or less, to see how that's going to work around. And after the success of this season, we can go into the next year and therefore be able to say there come 24 teams. Because at the same time, there was a huge debate around it to say, will this not be able to cancel out the 2 main club competitions on the continent?
That being Champions League and Confederation Cup.
So it was always going to be a tricky thing to say, how do you therefore manage that? Hence, they had to make sure that it's played in between the matches, the group stage, before the group stage starts of the 2 competitions I mentioned, the CAF Champions League, CAF Confederations Cup. Hence, they need to make sure they finish off with this competition is coming up, because there's been a lot of step back. Some countries said, no, we don't want it.
Absolutely.
Because it's going to affect our fixture list. South Africa was one of those. They came out. Eventually, they smoked a peace pipe with Sundowns, said, go ahead and play. I mean, Sundowns, on Wednesday, were knocked out of a cup competition. They were defending. So now they'll have to play a game today, later on, against Petro de Luanda, which is their first game in the African Football League. Yesterday, we saw the opening of the competition in Italy, to where Tanzania were the host there with Simba, you know. And a very interesting thing to talk about also, when you talk about this, is that we mentioned a top 8 teams that are there.
I wanted you to actually just remind people at home as to who the top 8 are. And let's just talk about the pedigree of the 8 teams that are making up this league.
When you talk about that, you're talking about team from the north, the west, the east, the central zone, and the southern zone.
Cool.
So that's where the majority of those teams are coming from. The north dominated, they've got 3 teams. The west has 1.
That would be Wydad, Al Ahly,
and Esperance de Tunis.
Got you.
So those are the 3 teams that are coming from that region.
Yes.
Then you have the southern part, that is Petro de Luanda, and with the Sundowns.
Got you.
But the eastern region, where you have a Simba SC coming from that region.
Yes.
Then you also have Inyimba coming from the western side. So that gives us the 8 teams. Out of those 8 teams I just mentioned, only 2 haven't won any CAF sanctioned competition.
Name them.
It is Petro de Luanda and Simba SC. They've come in close, but never been able to win it at this level of a Champions League.
Interesting.
So they're the ones they're going to come into. The Sundowns won it once.
Yes.
Inyimba's won it 4 times, 2 times in fact. And then you're talking about TP Mazembe's won it 4 times. They also won the Super Cup. Al Ahly, we know they're record champions of the competition.
Of course.
We also know Esperance has won it also. Wydad has won it as well. So this is how tricky this is. But it also shows that other teams within the continent have to live up and actually challenge those for them to be known as the best around the continent.
Now, all of this is taking place until November, right? We already know the dates. We already know where these teams are going to be playing, how the fixtures are set up. The big question is, though, is this still a competition of pedigree? Because it's in its first year. And why would you say yes?
Pedigree, when you talk about the teams that are there.
Okay.
Because you're talking about teams who are champions in their own countries.
Okay.
Teams who are champions in the Champions League before.
Gotcha.
Teams who are consistently playing and getting to the top four of their respective competitions.
Gotcha.
So, and also very important, these are the teams that are big spenders.
Okay.
If you look at the amount of different nationals they have in their respective teams, their respective clubs, you realize just how big they go to be able to be part of this. And also, there's a huge carrot that has been dangled. By virtue of being in the quarterfinals, we win $1 million.
Oh, yes. Everyone is actually getting money at this point.
By virtue of just being there, there's $1 million guaranteed.
We need to go to an ad break, Brian.
So we'll come back and continue with this conversation and talk about other stuff as well.
Exactly. When we come back, we continue. We also talk about the sponsor, the title sponsor of the competition. But also, there's a little bit of drama. You know, I like myself some drama. A little bit of drama around the fixtures that have been lined up for the quarterfinals.